Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. Netflix has given us the date for Chris Rock's live on Netflix comedy special. That'll be March 4th, 2023, of course. Chris Rock's Selective Outrage. Live, 10 Eastern, 7 West, from a venue in Baltimore, Maryland. More details to come. There is a short trailer available online where Chris jokes about getting punched in the face. Kelly Rizzo, the wife of Bob Saget, posted some photos on Christmas and wrote, "Cherish every single moment. I certainly didn't think that our first Christmas together in the same city last year would be our last. It was the first year he came to Chicago to spend Christmas with my family along with my wonderful stepdaughter, Lara. I'm so glad we had that special time together. The holidays are a time for hope, love, and togetherness. I pray that if you're missing a loved one this holiday season, that you're blessed with many deep and loving memories and gratitude that will help you carry through." Dan Harmon's been thinking a lot about the Community movie. He said, "We started asking ourselves, what would this thing be? The years since stopping Community have been transformative for me, so it's not as easy as just putting my head back up in my butt and having everything be exactly where I left it, let alone was it be as easy as that to please fans who have grown for 10 years since the show went off the air. The conclusion was the sweet spot that we ended up going through philosophically was, aha, you know what everybody likes to see is that time has changed and so have the lives of the characters and the world we'll share with them. The character has adapted. They reacted to a changing world, the same as we all have, but they're unmistakably themselves." Harmon says the approach was a careful dance of not being reductive or repetitive, but still being familiar. Dan said, "I think it's easy enough to say we came around to the healthy wisdom, which is we have to make sure that this movie, that this premise alone, doesn't prohibit a pretty long list of things you might want to get out of a Community movie. It's a lot easier to rule stuff out than to tell you what we're pursuing, because I want people to be part of that conversation, and maybe because I have anxiety about people thinking I'm not thinking hard enough about something." Okay? Chelsea Handler's new special is called Revolution. It's out on Netflix. Spoilers coming up in 3, 2, 1. In the special, she talks about her relationship with Jo Koy. "No man has ever spoken to me or treated me the way Jo Koy speaks to me and treats me. I mean, some of the things he says to me, I can't even believe he's for real." In the special, she talks about the male dating pool out there, including guys who exclude the opposite of Pete Davidson energy. I've cleaned that up for you. Guys who wear flip-flops in the winter, talk about their genitalia on a first date, or complain about being a white guy. She's had enough of them. That, she said, is why she was dating Jo Koy. She talks about their first dates. They were out having dinner when a man approached the table and said, "I'm not a big fan, but my wife is, but she's my third wife." Chelsea said, "Well, good luck with your fourth wife, sir." She said of Jo Koy, "My confidence and my inability to take crap from anybody turns him on. Instead of me having to shrink my personality to avoid emasculating a man, he's turned on by who I am." To the women in attendance, she says, "If you're sitting in this audience and you haven't found your person yet, please do not ever lower your standards or panic because you think you're getting too old. Your person is coming." The special was taped on June 10th. That's about a month before Chelsea and Jo Koy broke up, in case you're wondering what this is all about. But towards the end of the special, she does say, "I still believe in love, and I know now more than ever before, my person is coming." It's a little light today. I've got a folder called Leftovers. This is one of the leftovers. Vulture had caught up with the Conan O'Brien writers. They were asked about some of the sketches that they most enjoyed. One of the writers said, "I'm most proud of the aggressively stupid things we did, like Cactus Chef playing We Didn't Start the Fire on the flute." It was exactly what it sounds like, a cactus wearing a chef's hat, holding a flute with its branch arms, while a flute-only version of the Billy Joel song played. It wasn't clever or smart. There was no deeper meaning to it. It really had no reason to exist at all, but it did, because we all agreed it was somehow funny. That's what I love most about working on the show. The image of a cactus wearing a chef's hat popped into my head. 2 days later, the GE Corporation paid people to build it and broadcast it on network TV. Writer-performer Brian McCann said, "I always thought late night was at its best when we got to present insane ideas. I think the bit that allowed that the most was satellite TV. It was Conan and Andy Richter flipping through channels to see what's on and finding stuff like a channel called Babies Reminiscing, where there's sappy music playing over a montage of babies looking out over lakes and parks, or the What Hurts More channel, where Matt Walsh just whipped objects at me and I shouted until one hurt more. The way Conan embraced the absurd was so refreshing. Other shows tried to go that way and it didn't feel authentic. I had the most fun when the whole staff was urged to bring their own voice to whatever they were doing. Most shows I've worked on have a single voice and a single point of view, which greatly narrows the type of comedy that can be done successfully." Mike Sweeney said he loved The Kayak Guy, aka the There's No Reason to Live guy. That has a warm place in my heart because it was born out of desperation as we sat in the writer's room at 10 p.m., still needing a second sketch for the next day's show. Hey, as I pad out today's episode, I feel you, Mike Sweeney. And it was pitched and performed by the always brilliant Brian McCann. And most importantly, it was an instant hit with the audience, allowing us to bring it back a dozen times and thereby avoid a dozen more desperate meetings at 10 p.m. Kevin Dorff liked Coked Up Werewolf. That title alone is hilarious. On a similar note, Eric Idle was on Kara Swisher's podcast, and Eric Idle said, I think the thing about comedy is it's disastrous when you want to be liked. I think there's a slight difference between American humor, American TV, and English TV, that on the whole, English comedians don't want to be loved or don't put that up front, whereas I think it's very important in American terms that they're somehow liked or lovable. Kara asked, did they edit a lot at Monty Python? Eric answered, they edit us hardly at all until about the third series. Then they cut one or two things, not only small things by today's standards. They cut out a sketch, which was a wine tasting sketch. The guy says, what do you think of this? And I said, well, it's a Burgundy. It's light dry. It's from the north side of the hill. It's probably a Sauvignon. Waiter, oui. Gives me another, this is very much. This is Sauvignon, proper great, you know? No, sir, it's oui. Eric Idle said it was completely a urine joke, and I wrote it, I'm afraid to say, and John Cleese cut it. He went with the BBC. And I did it sore with him, and I made him do it every night with me, and it got huge laughs, so I got my own revenge. The Interrobang is polling you to vote for Comedy Album of the Year 2022. Here are the nominees from the Interrobang. You go to their website and you can vote. Their choices: Rich Voz's 7, Amy Miller's California King, Dave Temple's Facebook, YouTube, Amazon, Katie Hannigan's Feeling of Emptiness, Greg Proops in the City, Nathan McIntosh's Money Never Wakes, Subha Agarwal's Dog Show, Liz Mealy's The Ghost of Academic Future, Nori Davis's Symbol, and one more from a comedian who blocked me on Twitter, even though I said nothing bad about said comedian, so I will leave that comedian out in respect for their block. Vulture listed the best comedy books of the year. The only one that really interested me was number 5's Nailing It by Rich Hall. Remember the Sniglets guy from Saturday Night Live? In Rich Hall's memoir, he presents a series of long ago episodes in his professional and personal life in which the situation needed him to absolutely crush it, and he totally did. Rich Hall makes comedy and performance look far easier than they are, and success both attainable and more entertaining than spectacular failure, which is the subject of too many comedian memoirs. And let's stop off at Gossip Corner. Pete Davidson, the mayor of Gossip Corner, he was at the Knicks game again with a woman. However, no, the woman was his younger sister, Casey Davidson. Pete hanging out with the sister on Christmas Day. Pete was sitting courtside along with Questlove from The Roots and Vampire Diaries star Paul Wesley. That's your comedy news for today. Follow the show for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. See you tomorrow.